A trainload of nuclear waste, nicknamed the Chernobyl on wheels, arrived this past week at a railway depot in northern Germany after a 3-day trip from France, which saw repeated clashes between police and protesters trying to halt the delivery. The train, carrying 135 tons of radioactive waste, arrived in the town of Dannenberg, where it was then loaded onto trucks and taken to a storage site at Gorleben. It was the largest amount of nuclear waste to ever be transported anywhere. Police say protesters still blocked the road to Gorleben in the early part of the week. The activists, supported by Greenpeace and Sortir du Nucléaire, a network of 875 anti-nuclear groups, say neither the waste containers nor the Gorleben site, a temporary storage facility, are safe. Laura Hameau of Sortir du Nucléaire said, quote, "It is at least twice the radioactivity of all the radioactive pollution from the Chernobyl catastrophe, and local people haven't even been informed of its route." Members of Greenpeace measured the radiation from the train at the loading station and said that they could detect radiation standing far away from it. We at Greenpeace are measuring the radiation from the nuclear waste containers, so the gamma radiation and neutron radiation are still being inadequately protected, despite the 100-ton containers. Even from a distance of 40 meters, you could see how the radiation levels increase. At least 17,000 riot police were poised for the demonstration. They used water cannons and pepper spray to try to stop up to 4,000 protesters making their way through the woods onto the tracks near Dannenberg. Most managed to break through police lines, and some then chained themselves to the rails and tried to damage the tracks by removing gravel. There were further clashes as police tried to clear the protests. Some activists used flare guns and a chemical spray against the police. About a dozen protesters were injured. A large group of demonstrators sat on the track near the village of Harlingen. The train's progress was repeatedly halted as protesters were cleared. We knew that the train would arrive at some point, but it is not really about getting the train to change direction, but rather getting the government to change direction and use a different nuclear energy policy. I think we have made it very clear that if the government continues to distance itself from the people, then such conflicts will happen, and these can only be solved if the government redirects its policies. Around 50 to 60 tractors also blocked the main road between Dannenberg and Gorleben, but were cleared by police. The protests are the biggest anti-nuclear demonstrations for years and symbolize growing anger in Germany at Chancellor Angela Merkel's decision to extend the life of Germany's 17 atomic power plants by an average of 12 years. Merkel says the move is necessary to keep energy cheap and readily available. This past weekend, at least 25,000 people demonstrated peacefully outside Dannenberg.